Look closely. Across the deserts, beneath the oceans, carved into stone and written in the stars, are the whispers of something older than we've ever imagined. Shapes too large to see from the ground. Kings who ruled for thousands of years. Visitors worshipped as gods. And messages so strange, they defy everything we thought we knew. In this episode, we go beyond pyramids and palaces to the symbols, the signals, and the signs that someone or something may have been watching long before history began. This is episode 6 of our journey into the unknown, messages from the past, and cosmic connections. Stay with us. 1. The Nazca Lines, messages to the gods or the sky. In the arid plains of southern Peru, etched into the earth with astounding precision, lie geoglyphs the size of skyscrapers. Vast drawings of hummingbirds, monkeys, spiders, and perfectly straight lines stretching across the desert. They are called the Nazca Lines, and they are among the most mysterious creations of the ancient world. Created between 500 BCE and 500 CE by the Nazca people, these figures span over 1,000 square kilometers. Some are over 300 meters long, yet can only truly be seen from the sky, which raises an immediate question. Why would an ancient culture design something they couldn't see? The most famous shapes include animals, geometric patterns, spirals, and humanoid forms. Some are simple lines that run dead straight for kilometers, cutting through hills and valleys with laser-like accuracy. The official explanation? The lines were ritualistic walkways, possibly aligned with astronomical events or used in rain and fertility ceremonies. The dry, windless desert has preserved them for over a millennium. But the mystery goes deeper. Why such massive scale? Why designs that can only be appreciated from hundreds of meters in the air? Some researchers suggest that the Nazca had hot air balloon technology, primitive but effective. Others claim the lines were designed for sky gods, to be seen from above, not from the ground. Erich von Däniken, a controversial figure in ancient astronaut theory, proposed that the lines were landing zones or navigation guides for extraterrestrial visitors. While mainstream scholars dismiss this, the sheer scale and precision continue to inspire speculation. In recent years, drone technology has uncovered dozens of new figures, even more intricate than those first discovered, suggesting the Nazca weren't drawing at random. They were building something far bigger and far more organized. Were the Nazca Lines a calendar, a map, a message, or a ritual offering to powers beyond their understanding? Whatever their purpose, they remain etched into the land, bold, silent, and enduring. A message from the past, still waiting to be read from the sky. 2. The Anunnaki, ancient gods or visitors from the stars. In the cradle of civilization, ancient Mesopotamia, the Sumerians told stories of powerful beings from the heavens. They called them the Anunnaki, literally, those who came down from the sky. According to clay tablets dating back over 6,000 years, the Anunnaki were celestial gods who created humanity, ruled over Earth, and taught early civilizations agriculture, writing, and law. They weren't mythical creatures of light and mist. They had names, families, hierarchies, and purpose. So who or what were they? Mainstream scholars interpret the Anunnaki as deities of the Mesopotamian pantheon, similar to the Greek or Egyptian gods, each tied to elements of nature and society. But in the 20th century, one author would change everything. Zecharia Sitchin, a controversial researcher and author of The 12th Planet, proposed a radical idea: that the Anunnaki were not gods, but extraterrestrial beings from a distant planet called Nibiru, a massive world that orbits our sun every 3,600 years. Sitchin claimed that the Anunnaki genetically engineered humans from primitive hominids, creating us as a slave race to mine gold and resources. He interpreted Sumerian texts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Enuma Elish, as encoded history, not mythology. Most scholars dismissed his work as pseudoscience, but his theories spread like wildfire, becoming foundational to the ancient astronaut hypothesis that early gods were really ancient aliens. So where's the truth? There are indeed thousands of cuneiform tablets that reference the Anunnaki, but most describe them as spiritual forces tied to the heavens, fate, and judgment. Yet, the detail in some of these records is unsettling. Descriptions of flying vehicles, sky cities, beings in helmets descending in fire and thunder, maps of the stars we couldn't confirm until centuries later. Were the Anunnaki simply the mythic imagination of a brilliant civilization? Or did they preserve a memory, distorted by time, of visitors from beyond the earth? Whether gods, aliens, or archetypes, the Anunnaki remain embedded in humanity's earliest stories, watching, teaching, or perhaps waiting to return. 3. The Sumerian King List. 2. Was all years of forgotten rulers. It's just a list. Names, dates, and reigns, carved into clay tablets nearly 4,000 years ago in the language of ancient Sumer. But what the Sumerian King List records defies logic. The list begins with the line, "After kingship descended from heaven," and from there, it details the rulers of Mesopotamia, some familiar, some legendary. But here's the strange part. The earliest kings were said to have ruled for tens of thousands of years. One king, Alulim of Eridu, is said to have reigned for 28,800 years. His successor, 36,000 years. In total, the list claims kings ruled for 241 years before a great flood wiped them out, after which human kingship began again, with much shorter lifespans. Scholars are divided. Some see the list as a blend of myth and monarchy. Early rulers deified over time, their reigns exaggerated by poetic tradition. Others believe the numbers are symbolic, tied to astronomical or cosmological cycles. But what if the list is preserving something older? A faded memory of a time before the flood, before written history, when a different kind of kingship truly existed. The notion echoes across cultures. In the Bible, early patriarchs lived for centuries. In Hindu texts, kings ruled for tens of thousands of years during the Satya Yuga. In Egyptian records, the Shemsu Hor, semi-divine beings, ruled before the first pharaohs. Is it coincidence? Or fragments of a forgotten past? Some theorists propose that the antediluvian kings were non-human, or remnants of a pre-cataclysmic civilization. Perhaps even the Anunnaki themselves. The tablets themselves are real. The names are real. The numbers? That depends on who you ask, whether allegory, exaggeration, or hidden history. The Sumerian king list reminds us. The line between myth and record is thinner than we think, and sometimes the truth hides where we stop believing. 4. The Pyramids of Nubia, the neglected black pharaohs. In the deserts of northern Sudan, far from the tour buses and tourist trails of Giza, rise more than 200 pyramids, tall, narrow, and elegant. Many still standing proud after over 2,000 years. This is Meroe, capital of the ancient kingdom of Kush, and home to the Black Pharaohs. These rulers weren't Egyptian, they were Nubian, a people from the lands south of Egypt along the Nile, who would one day not only rival the Egyptian empire, but rule it. The 25th dynasty of Egypt, also known as the Kushite dynasty, saw pharaohs like Pi, Taharka, and Shabaka take control of Egypt around the 8th century BCE. They restored temples, revived monumental architecture, and brought a spiritual and political renaissance. And yet, their story is barely mentioned in most history books. Why? Some say it's the result of colonial-era bias, the refusal to acknowledge a powerful, sophisticated African empire. Others point to the destruction caused by early treasure hunters and the lack of large-scale Western excavations in Sudan. But the ruins remain. The Nubian pyramids differ from their Egyptian counterparts. Steeper, smaller, often built in clusters, with beautifully carved chapels at their base. Inside, tombs are adorned with hieroglyphs, celestial maps, and vivid imagery of the afterlife. The Kushites worshipped Egyptian gods, but with distinct African interpretations. They had their own writing system, art, and architecture. Their queens, called Kandake or Candace, often ruled as equals, and in some cases, as warriors. Meroe thrived for centuries, becoming a center of trade, ironworking, and cultural fusion between Africa and the Mediterranean world. And yet, how many outside the region have heard their names? The pyramids of Nubia are not ruins of an imitation. They are proof of an empire in its own right. Powerful, proud, and long overdue for recognition. The Black Pharaohs of Kush weren't lost to time. They were buried by history, and now we're finally uncovering them. 5. The Bimini Road, Atlantis in the Caribbean. Just off the coast of Bimini Island in the Bahamas, beneath shallow turquoise waters, lies a mysterious formation. A straight line of massive limestone blocks, stretching for nearly a kilometer along the sea floor. Some call it a natural formation. Others believe it's the final remnant of Atlantis. Discovered in 1968 by divers exploring the area, the so-called Bimini Road consists of hundreds of stone slabs, each roughly rectangular, closely fitted, and arranged in a way that looks eerily architectural. The stones range from 2 to 4 meters wide and sit side by side like ancient paving. Some are even stacked, resembling walls or docks. They lie just 5 meters below the surface, easily visible to snorkelers, and endlessly debated by scientists. The timing was uncanny. Decades earlier, famed psychic Edgar Cayce predicted that ruins of Atlantis would rise near Bimini in 1968 or 1969. When the formation was found exactly then, believers were certain this was no coincidence. Mainstream geologists, however, argue the Bimini Road is a result of naturally fractured beach rock, broken apart and eroded over thousands of years by tides and waves. But others question the sharp corners, uniformity, and especially the apparent design, claiming it resembles a collapsed breakwater or ancient harbor. Some divers have reported tool marks, holes, and features that look like joints or supports. Yet no artifacts, structures, or bones have ever been found near the site. Just stone, shaped and arranged by forces we still don't fully understand. Could it be that a lost seafaring civilization, perhaps pre-Ice Age, once used these islands as part of a vast trade network? Or is this just one of nature's illusions, drawing patterns where none exist? The mystery of the Bimini Road is not in the stones alone, but in the story they suggest, and the story we long to believe. Whether natural or intentional, the road leads us somewhere deeper, to the blurry edge between science, legend, and hope. 6. The Drapa Stones, ancient discs that shouldn't exist. In 1938, a team of Chinese archaeologists, led by Chi Te, reportedly explored a remote cave system high in the Bayan Har Mountains, near the border of China and Tibet. Inside, they made a strange discovery. Over 700 stone discs, each about 30 centimeters wide, with a hole in the center and spiral grooves etched into the surface. These became known as the Drapa Stones. At first glance, they resembled ancient phonograph records, but instead of music, the grooves were said to contain microscopic characters, worn by time and unreadable by the naked eye. According to reports published years later, Chinese scholars eventually deciphered parts of the writing using magnification and painstaking analysis. What they allegedly revealed was astonishing. The stones told the story of a group called the Drapa, beings who came from another world. Their spacecraft crashed in the mountains thousands of years ago. Unable to return home, they sought shelter in caves and eventually interacted with local tribes, who feared and misunderstood them. The texts spoke of conflict, acceptance, and the slow decline of the stranded visitors. If true, it would be the oldest record of extraterrestrial contact ever discovered. But here's where things get murky. The Drapa Stones, if they existed, have never been publicly displayed. The original research vanished from academic institutions, and those who sought to revisit the caves found nothing but silence and blocked access. Some claim the entire story is a fabrication, a Cold War-era hoax, or science fiction mistaken for reality. Others insist the evidence was suppressed, hidden away due to its implications for human history and scientific orthodoxy. In the absence of physical proof, the Drapa Stones have become something more than artifacts. They are a test of belief, a symbol of how thin the line is between history and myth, and how easily truth can vanish into legend. Whether the Drapa were real, imagined, or something in between, their story leaves behind a haunting question. What else have we lost, simply because we weren't ready to understand it? 7. The Cave of the Tayos, Hidden Libraries and Alien Lore. Deep in the jungles of Ecuador, hidden beneath the lush canopy of the Andes foothills, lies a cave shrouded in mystery. The Cave of the Tayos. First known to the indigenous Shuar people, this vast underground system stretches for kilometers, with narrow tunnels, vast chambers, and smooth, geometric walls that seem almost artificial. But what truly draws global attention isn't just the cave's scale, it's the claims of what lies within. In the 1970s, a controversial figure named Juan Marix claimed to have found inside the cave a metallic library, shelves of engraved golden books, strange artifacts, and signs of an ancient non-human intelligence. He said it was proof of a pre-flood civilization, long lost to time, or perhaps something not from this earth. His story caught the attention of none other than Erich von Däniken, author of Chariots of the Gods, who popularized the cave and ancient alien lore. Then, in 1976, an expedition led by astronaut Neil Armstrong, yes, the first man on the moon, ventured into Tayos. What were they looking for? Officially, geology, biology, and exploration. Unofficially, some believe Armstrong was searching for evidence of a forgotten chapter in human history, or contact with something other. To this day, the metallic library has never been photographed, confirmed, or recovered. Some say it never existed. Others claim it was hidden or removed by powerful interests. But the cave is real. The mysteries are real. And so is the precision. Perfectly cut corners, massive flat stones stacked like ancient filing cabinets, deep underground, in total darkness. Could the Cave of the Tayos be a relic of a lost civilization? Or is it an elaborate hoax that spiraled into legend? One thing is certain: when the jungle falls silent and the cave breathes cold air into the light, it feels like something is still watching from within. 8. The Hypogeum of Halsaflieni. Sound frequencies and ancient engineering. On the Mediterranean island of Malta, hidden beneath the city of Paola, lies a structure that defies time and explanation. The Hypogeum of Halsaflieni. Carved directly into solid limestone around 4000 BCE, this underground complex spans 3 levels, filled with chambers, passageways, and niches carved with astonishing precision. It was used for rituals, burials, and something else, something far more mysterious. One chamber in particular has baffled scientists. The Oracle Room, a small, oval chamber with smooth, curved walls. But when a deep male voice speaks inside, the sound resonates, amplifies, and fills the entire hypogeum with vibration. Frequencies around 110 Hz, when tested, were shown to alter brain activity in listeners, specifically stimulating the prefrontal cortex and areas related to emotion and perception. In modern terms, the room seems engineered to affect consciousness. But how could a Neolithic civilization have known this? No metal tools, no written language, no modern acoustics. And yet, they carved this structure entirely by hand, in pitch darkness, using only stone tools, and created an acoustic effect so advanced that even today, recording studios have failed to recreate it with the same organic intensity. Some believe the chamber was used for shamanic or trance rituals, the resonance enhancing altered states of mind, visions, or spiritual connection. Others think it was used to induce fear, awe, or submission in initiates or pilgrims. Could it be that these ancient builders understood something about sound, vibration, and the human brain that we've forgotten? The hypogeum was sealed for centuries, rediscovered by accident in 1902. Since then, only a limited number of visitors are allowed each year, and photography inside is banned, whatever its purpose, spiritual, scientific, or both. Hal Saflieni remains a silent masterpiece of design and mystery. A voice once spoken here may still echo, in stone, in mind, in memory. 9. The red-haired giants of Lovelock Cave. Myth or suppressed history? In the barren desert of Nevada, USA, just outside the Humboldt Sink, lies a small, dusty cavern called Lovelock Cave. To the casual visitor, it's nothing more than a dry hole in the rock. But for the Paiute people, it is a place of legend, a place where giants died. According to Paiute oral tradition, a race of red-haired, cannibalistic giants known as the Si-Te-Ka once lived in the region. They were described as tall, violent, and alien to the native tribes, feared and hunted for generations. Eventually, the tribes banded together, chased the last of the giants into Lovelock Cave, and set a fire at the entrance, trapping and killing them all. A gruesome tale, dismissed by historians as folklore. Until 1911. That year, guano miners digging in Lovelock Cave unearthed something shocking. Over 10,000 artifacts, baskets, tools, bones, and allegedly mummified remains of individuals over 7 feet tall. Among the discoveries were giant sandals, oversized handprints, and skulls with unusually high foreheads and red-tinted hair, consistent with the Paiute legend. Some of these skulls were displayed in museums. Others quietly disappeared. Over time, the narrative shifted. The remains were reclassified as belonging to tall Native Americans. The red hair was attributed to oxidation of black hair over time. The giant bones misidentified or destroyed. Yet, independent researchers and local eyewitnesses insist that at least 2 massive skeletons were removed from the cave and vanished into private collections or university archives. Why would evidence of giants be hidden? Some suggest it contradicts established anthropology. Others whisper of suppression, because such beings don't fit within accepted models of human history. So, what's the truth? The cave is still there. The Paiute still tell their story. And somewhere, perhaps in a forgotten drawer or sealed vault, a 7-foot skeleton still waits to be acknowledged. Myth, misunderstanding, or memory of a people erased from time? The red-haired giants of Lovelock Cave may be more than legend. They may be what history refused to remember. 10. The Zeno Map. Did explorers visit Antarctica before it froze? In 1558, a map was published in Venice by a man named Niccolò Zeno. Based on alleged letters and charts from his ancestors in the 14th century, the Zeno map showed parts of the North Atlantic, Iceland, Greenland, and something else. A strange, detailed depiction of land masses far to the south. remarkably resembling Antarctica's coastline, but without the ice. Here's the problem. Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, over 250 years later, and no one, according to conventional history, could have mapped its ice-free coast because it's been frozen solid for thousands of years. So, how could the Xeno map exist? Some scholars argue it's a misinterpretation, that the Antarctic land is just artistic error or distortion, but others point out striking accuracies. Bays, mountains, and outlines that match the underlying subglacial topography revealed only by modern radar and satellite data, which raises the disturbing question: did someone, long before modern civilization, have the technology to map Antarctica before it froze? The Xeno map isn't alone. It joins a growing list of impossible maps, including the more famous Piri Reis map of 1513, which also hints at a southern continent beneath the ice. So, who drew them? Some believe these charts are remnants of an ancient seafaring civilization, one lost to time, perhaps Atlantis, or a global maritime culture that predated recorded history. Others suggest that earlier explorers may have inherited knowledge from forgotten sources, or discovered things that were later hidden or dismissed. Skeptics argue the Xeno map is a forgery, or a mix of medieval guesswork and imagination. But still, the shape, the alignment, the echo of truth beneath myth, they remain. If the Xeno map is accurate, even in part, it shatters timelines. It suggests we are not the first to map the globe, not the first to know the world in ways we're only now rediscovering. Somewhere beneath miles of ice, the past may be frozen, but its memory survived, in ink, on parchment, and in the map we were never meant to see. 11. The Serapeum of Saqqara, impossible stone sarcophagi. Beneath the desert sands of Saqqara, Egypt's vast ancient necropolis, lies a forgotten underground labyrinth, the Serapeum. Discovered in 1850 by French Egyptologist Auguste Mariette, the Serapeum consists of a series of narrow, carved tunnels, and inside those tunnels sit over 20 granite sarcophagi, each weighing between 70 to 100 tons, lids included. These massive stone boxes are housed in tight chambers, connected by passages too narrow for modern cranes or carts. The granite was sourced from Aswan, over 800 kilometers away, and somehow transported, lowered underground, and placed with near-perfect precision. The official explanation? These sarcophagi were built to contain the sacred Apis bulls, worshipped as divine incarnations of the god Ptah. But here's the puzzle. The sarcophagi are polished to machine-like smoothness, their interiors featuring perfect 90-degree angles and tolerances that rival modern engineering tools. Tool marks? Practically non-existent. Inscriptions? Many are blank or added much later, suggesting reuse of older artifacts. So, how were they made? And more importantly, why go to such effort for a bull? Some researchers, including engineers and stone specialists, claim these boxes couldn't have been carved with copper tools, as Egyptologists claim. They suggest advanced abrasive technologies, lost knowledge, or even the use of vibration-based cutting, something we've barely begun to explore in the modern era. Then there's the question of purpose. Were these truly tombs, or something more? Some theorists propose they were resonance chambers, capable of interacting with sound frequencies, much like the hypogeum in Malta. Others go further, suggesting the Serapeum was part of an ancient energy system, now long forgotten. Whatever the case, the sheer logistics of creating and placing these sarcophagi in confined spaces with zero margin for error remains unexplained. The Serapeum isn't just a burial site, it is an engineering challenge, carved in stone, by minds who either knew far more than we think, or had help we can't yet comprehend. 12. The Chronicles of Akakor, the Lost Cities Beneath the Amazon. In 1972, German journalist Karl Brugger met a man in Brazil who would change his life, a man named Tatunka Nara, who claimed to be a prince of an underground tribe from the Amazon rainforest. Tatunka told him of Akakor, a hidden city beneath the jungle, built by an ancient civilization with the help of gods who came from the stars. These gods, he said, taught them science, architecture, and astronomy before returning to the sky. Akakor, according to the tale, was one of 13 underground cities connected by a vast network of stone tunnels stretching beneath Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru. Brugger was skeptical, but Tatunka was detailed, providing names, timelines, maps, and even warnings about lost technology buried underground. So detailed, in fact, that Brugger began to believe and published the Chronicle of Akakor in 1906. The story got stranger. In the years that followed, explorers and adventurers set out in search of Akakor. Some vanished. Others returned claiming they'd found ruins, ancient steps leading to nowhere, tunnels blocked by jungle and silence. Then came whispers that Nazi expeditions in the 1940s had searched for Akakor, that Hitler's regime believed in a hidden, pre-Aryan super-civilization beneath South America, that even after the war, German submarines were sighted along Brazil's coast, vanishing into the jungle. And Tatunka? His identity was eventually challenged. Some claimed he was a German fugitive. Others insisted he was genuine. He disappeared, reappeared, vanished again. Brugger? In 1984, he was shot and killed under mysterious circumstances in Rio de Janeiro. The case was never solved. So was Akakor real? No ruins have been confirmed, no tunnels mapped, no city revealed. But the legend persists, fueled by geopolitics, mythology, and the uncanny consistency of indigenous oral histories across the region. Maybe Akakor is a hoax, or maybe it's just very well hidden. And like all lost cities, maybe it's not waiting to be found. Maybe it's waiting for the right moment to be remembered. Beneath jungles, beneath deserts, beneath time, there are echoes of power, wisdom, and warning. Cities that never existed or never disappeared. Maps that shouldn't be real. Tombs too perfect. Stones too heavy. Frequencies that change the mind. In Chapter 7, we've seen the outlines of civilizations erased or hidden, but the shadow they cast is still with us. Subscribe. Stay curious. Because the deeper we go, the more we realize history has barely begun.